This is Inside the FLX from FingerLakes1.com, our live Tuesday in-studio edition. I'm Ted Baker. I'm joined by Mo Tidball and Candace Regal with Seneca County Cooperative Extension. The county fair opens tomorrow night. You've got a renewal of the Farm to School grant. Mo, let's start there. Fourth time now that you've gotten renewed for this grant. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We're really excited about it. It's a grant from the New York State's Department of Agriculture and Markets. And gosh, we talked about it way back in the beginning. The grant was for $350,000 spread across 6 grantees across the state back when it started. And now they have $1.5 million, and they're still handing out grants to various farm to school programs. And they're continuing to fund farm to school in Seneca County, which is great because we've made so much momentum over time, and they're rewarding that and keeping it going, which is awesome.
Let's go back to the very beginning. When's the first time you heard of Farm to School and said, boy, we've got to do this, and then kind of take us through the evolution of the program up to where Candace came on board?
That's a great question. So, probably back even in 2012, Farm to School was sort of starting, and it was very nascent, and we were doing programmings through 4-H and nutrition programs in the schools and talking about local foods. As you know, that's something that we're big proponents of in terms of health. And that was before Ag and Markets had an actual grant for it, and it was sort of getting on the national scene as well. So we were starting with programs like that, and then I think it was 2016 when the grant actually first appeared, and we applied for it because we were already doing programming, and it just enabled us to really take off with it and start Harvest of the Month and work with all 4 school districts. And then we had Sue Peterson for a little bit, who was our farm to school educator, and then when she left, we were so lucky to get Candace because she's been absolutely awesome at this role.
And Candace, let's talk about how this program's grown. I mean, the original idea was let's get healthy, locally grown food into the schools.
Yeah.
Then it became let's get the kids to participate. Now it's expanded into education and all kinds of things. So bring us up to date with everything you're doing in Farm to School.
Yeah, so like the overall goal of Farm to School really for schools is to increase the procurement and bringing in of local produce and local foods to make their school meals healthier. But I would say, so I've been at Seneca CC working on the Farm to School program for about 4 years now, and over that we've kind of transitioned from the cafeteria, still trying to focus on cafeteria, but we've also like moved into the classroom more. We do a lot more agriculture, food, nutrition education, and part of that is we've started school gardens, and each year we've expanded on that, especially with this year. The Farm to School program has gone from doing a couple gardens in some of the schools to help from the Farm to School grant and the Creating Healthy Schools and Communities grant that Mo might talk about. But funding from both has helped us purchase grow towers to bring them into the classrooms. We've actually purchased materials to build more garden beds in all 4 of our school districts. So the gardening and the hands-on learning is really expanding to get kids to incorporate it, and teachers, really. The teachers are forming their curriculum around it to get them gardening, growing their own food, just interested in agriculture and agriculture in their community, and then bringing some of that produce right into the cafeteria so they can kind of see from start to finish, starting the seeds, bringing it in, seeing their food service directors make the meals with what they've grown. So it's actually kind of getting an all-encompassing, connecting classroom, community, cafeteria, and making them see like the whole big picture of it. So it's really good, and we have teams that are getting started in all of our schools, and the excitement is just growing. So I think it's gonna over these next 2 years with this grant just get bigger and have like more people involved, families, and just get even more exciting.
We've talked about this. I've talked about it with Mo for years. Mm-hmm. One of the early keys to success was just getting the kids involved in the preparation of the food. It's
yeah.
You know, it's fun to cut up apples into sections, and it's fun to be part of making that food that you're going to eat and learning about how it gets to the table.
Yeah, and that's where the gardening comes in too. If they have had hands-on experience actually planting it, growing it, and picking it, right when they pick it, just like my kids at home, they're more likely to try it right out of the garden. And if they can try it fresh, they're more likely to try it like in different recipes, see how you can cook it different, see how it tastes different when it's paired with different foods. So it just opens their palate and their mind and keeps their minds open to experiencing a bunch of different healthy foods in different ways. So I mean, and that's when they can learn it young. They can bring it home, share it with their families, just like the recipes we share. And then hopefully into adulthood, they can start eating healthier and just keep that going and maybe garden at home like we like them to, yeah.
For both of you, in the early days, was it difficult at all to convince the food service directors to get involved and then the farmers to get involved?
It was some more than others. Stephanie Lawrence in Seneca Falls has been a proponent for Farm to School for a long time. There's a new food service director in South Seneca, Adam Snell, who was a chef, actually a local chef, and so he's all on board with it. And the others are coming along as well, and happy to try new things, as long as they think the kids will eat it. And so that's the tricky part, you know, so you have to expose the kids to different recipes and different foods a few times before they'll truly accept it. So, you know, if you serve it once, it might be, you know, like the butternutty mac and cheese. Some kids liked it, some kids didn't. We try to do taste tests before it's actually on the menu. But it has to happen a few times, and then they're like, hey, where's the butternutty mac and cheese this month? So,
Yeah.
so it takes time.
So about how many local producers are you working with now?
Jeez. We try to do so for our New York Thursdays and our Harvest of the Month. So each month we focus on a new locally produced item, and then maybe one Thursday, maybe 2 Thursdays. We're trying to get it like every Thursday throughout the month. We try to focus on a New York meal. So for those, if we just need small amounts, we'll try to pick from just small local farmers where we know we can get a small amount. So that's probably several, I would say 5 or 10 that we actually stop at every now and then between our different schools. But also our schools, just because it's a lot easier to go through who they're already purchasing from, but a lot of those food hubs or their regular suppliers are actually dealing with a lot of New York produced farmers anyway that are New York farmers, so it's all locally grown, and we try to make sure it's from New York for all of that product. But, so I mean, I couldn't probably pick a number, but we're trying to even go through those suppliers so that they can make sure it's a New York farm. And then when we do only need a small amount, we try to pick out our local farmers that we know will have it, but yeah.
And we're really lucky that New York State is a dairy state, so much of, you know, their milk is all from upstate, which is a New York State product. And the fact that Ag and Markets has funded this program over the years, and it's grown over the years, so now there's like a database where food service directors can get on and check to see where they can get New York products for things like tater tots, actually. There are some tater tots being made in New York State, which is a little, you know, of course we'd rather have them use whole potatoes from Williamson Farms, and they're doing that too, but there's a lot of options for New York State products now.
That's what I was going to ask next. Is there something you haven't had in the program that you'd love to find a source for?
Chicken. Honestly, so, you know, there's not really a supplier in New York State that can guarantee New York State chicken all throughout the year. Sometimes it comes from Pennsylvania in the winter months, so we're working on chicken statewide.
Breads.
Yes,
I think
breads.
Breads
Yes.
is New York Breads. I think we're really trying to find somebody who can be really consistent for all of our schools for like lettuces and greens, just because they do so many salad bars and greens like that.
Yeah.
So I know our schools are always having trouble just to find like a consistent where they can buy like local fresh greens, but.
Yeah. We don't grow the right kind of wheat in New York State to make breads. You know, so even though Barilla pasta is in Western New York, they can't guarantee that 51% of the grains being made into pasta are New York State grown.
Has there ever been a recipe that you thought, they're not really going to like this one, and then they did?
Maybe the kale apple salad?
Yeah.
I think even our food service directors were like, kale? And when we go to markets or if we like sample something in the classroom, I even have adults that are like, kale, really? But the kale apple salad has like a little bit of honey, a little bit of lemon juice, the apples that are really great because we usually try to focus on in fall when it's like right in season. So we always like try to push like our local apples, but it has a little bit of sweetness. And then like with the dressing on it, it's like a massage salad. So we're like, just try it. And then after that, like kids will be coming up like 2 or 3 times. I think I even did like a version of like a Brussels sprout and apple salad that's kind of similar, did the same dressing, and they were like coming up 4 or 5 times, and I'm like, see, you like Brussels sprouts, you didn't even know it.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, some of the salads with greens, I don't know.
Great. And the asparagus, too. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
we've
yeah.
had kids, I don't know, I've never eaten an asparagus, and they loved it.
Yeah, we did an after-school program where I think we tried it cooked, we tried it fresh, we like made it a different way, I don't know, we tried it like all the different ways they could, right out of the garden to cooked, and they were just curious and kind of found out how it tasted different and then ended up liking it one way versus the other. But I think just the more you try it, the different ways, and taste tests and all that, give them a chance to try it first and then they're.
So what do you do in the summer? Do you work with the food service directors about next year and start planning what new things, especially now that the grant's been renewed and you can look to expand into more and more areas of education?
definitely, like right after the school year ends, we're meeting with food service directors to kind of try to plan out the harvest of the month for the whole next school year. And then some of our schools actually have kitchen gardens that are their school gardens. So we're planting right at the spring kind of summertime so that they have some of that produce that can go into their summer meal program. And then by fall, when they come back in September, they'll have some tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers that they can bring into the cafeteria too. But we're also doing with Ovid, or South Seneca School, they have a seed library in the Edith B. Ford Memorial Library. So that's there all summer. And then we're doing like a summer gardening program. So people who want to come, they help take care of the farm to school garden since our students are gone, and we kind of try to help maintain their gardens throughout the summer.
So what's a seed library?
So our South Seneca farm to school team, we actually have a really good team there, and one of the teachers that's on the team has a gardening class. She actually made her gardening class this year, and her students had a bunch of extra seeds that they had gotten from another grant and then planted their garden. So they saved some of their seeds. They actually designed the seed labels and the seed packets, and then we set up a little like cabinet at the library. So there's different packets of a bunch of different varieties of seeds that they drew all the things on. And then community members, parents, families can come and just grab some extra seeds, plant at home, and then they can share their seeds too if they happen to have extra.
Well, you're putting a lot of pressure on the parents at home now, too, because the kids come home, and if it's fast food, from the microwave, they say, come on, Mom, where's the kale salad?
It's true, but we also sent them home with, gardening kits. So we're hearing back too, like, oh, my beans are growing from parents, and they're getting the parents excited about it too.
So is there any particular area you'd like to expand into in this next year or do more of?
I think as Candace was talking about in terms of creating the teams at the schools where the community, the classroom, and the cafeteria are all involved, that's going to create the sustainability for the program. So, as we mentioned, we have a team at South Seneca that went to the American Farmland Trust Farm to School Institute. So the administrators are part of it, and teachers, and the food service director, and community members. So they're starting to get ideas and create projects that'll work in their school that they're taking ownership of, rather than us coming in and say, hey, let's do this. They're saying, hey, can we do this? And they reach out to Candace and I, and then we do things like the seed library. And Minders Academy just sent a team to the American Farmland Trust Farm to School Institute just this past spring. So now actually next week we're going to be building garden beds, and they're going to invite parents and things like that to come in. So creating those teams and creating sort of an environmental change within the school so that the kids and the teachers and administrators and parents and the community are all involved with creating this environment for eating local foods and growing foods in the garden and just sort of creating lasting change.
I've been talking to you guys. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and getting their families involved. So with that building the garden beds, we're actually doing it like on an evening where families can come and get involved as well and kind of see what we're doing at the schools. But I would also say inside the cafeteria is probably a big spot where we want to expand. Like we're starting, and it's a little bit difficult with like what the food service directors actually have funds to work with as well and purchasing local.
Right.
So I mean, that's just somewhere where we're trying to get every now and then on our New York Thursdays. We'd really like it to be every Thursday of the month, or even just a lot of their meals throughout the month, to have something on their plate that's local, fresh recipe. So kids really see that it's not just like their tan plate, which is mostly what's in a lot of school cafeterias, but something that's colorful, something that's healthy, something that's fresh, and try to just make that a regular choice or a regular thing that's just getting made and put on the menu. So I'd say our cafeteria is like a big focus, making it like a really tasty, nutritious, nourishing meal that kids can come and have during the day. Yeah.
I've been talking to the two of you about this for years, and I still haven't heard of anybody else nearby doing it. Is there anyone else, or have any counties come to you and said, hey, how do we get in on this?
So there's counties getting involved through the grant, Ag and Markets grant. Western New York has some really great farm to school programming going on, and actually Cornell has a Harvest New York team, and so they're hiring regional leaders. So there's some in the Hudson Valley that are getting things going, in the North Country actually, and Long Island. Long Island's having a challenge because they can't get New York State milk onto Long Island for whatever reason. They don't have a supplier for that. So it's catching on, and Broome County actually has a really great program. But we're kind of the ones in the Finger Lakes, you know, and we're happy to spread the love
Yeah.
and work with Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES and other food service directors on the harvest of the month and things like that as well.
Well, congratulations on the renewal of the grant and another year of the program. We'll look forward to having more conversations and trying some more recipes as we go along.
That sounds great.
Next up, Seneca County Fair, and I'm going to get fined here. 178th, is that right?
Oh, geez.
That sounds about right. Something like that.
Maybe that. It's something. I think that's actually it. But the first thing is, knock on wood, everything's normal this year, right? The kids can show the animals. They can go to the state fair. Some of these things we haven't had in the last couple of years.
Yes, it's very exciting for the youth, and in fact, you know, there were some worries that the poultry show might not have been able to happen because of avian influenza, but I think that's even been lifted, and so kids will be back with their animals, and they've already started in Floral Hall with their crafts and their photographs and all their sort of projects were evaluated yesterday, and they'll be on display all week at the fair.
We're doing this live on Tuesday. Opening night at the fair is Wednesday. Opening reception at Floral Hall and grape juice and all kinds of things. Upstate New York milkshakes. Tell us about opening night.
Yeah, so we're going to have some local milkshakes, local grape juice from Wagner Vineyards, and then I think there will be a local wine for adults to have an adult beverage. But then we're going to do several different recipes. Farm to school, SNAP Ed, we'll do a 4-H Choose Health Food Fun and Fitness one that's a colorful black bean salad. And then I think we were doing a couple more, maybe like
The Wild
Harvest Table is going to do
meatballs,
venison meatballs. So if anybody hasn't tried venison and they want to try it, here's your chance. And then we'll have some beet brownies and some oatmeal zucchini muffins. And we might do like a fruit salad with local fruit since it's just starting. This is the middle season of summer where there's a lot of fruit. So we'll have some samples that people can try as they walk through and see all the 4-H exhibits that are going on. And Rachel Williams, our 4-H leader, actually just texted me this morning before we came in and said that a lot of their exhibits are actually from their farm to school garden kit. So they have like big heirloom tomato plants and they have like huge zucchini plants and all this stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of exhibits and a lot of tasty treats that you guys can come check out in Floral Hall.
I think venison meatballs would make a great first prize for one of the demo derby heats or for an announcer snack in between.
Yeah,
ads.
absolutely. I mean, you know, so it's from 5 to 7, and if you need us to maybe keep a couple.
All right, maybe I can get over to Floral Hall first. And of course, for those who don't know, I've been doing the announcing at the Demo Derby now for a number of years, and really enjoy that. So then, tell us what else goes on during the fair. Obviously, a lot of it is Rachel's baby with 4-H and animal exhibits and things, but you have a presence there throughout the fair.
So there'll be displays up in Floral Hall of all the different programming. So, you know, tomorrow night really is the kickoff event where people could come and chat with us and learn more firsthand about the programs. But then, you know, when we're not there or not all of us are there, there'll still be information about recycling and information about horticulture and agriculture and farm to school, 4-H, SNAP Ed. And so that's all set up in Floral Hall in the north end of Floral Hall. And I just suggest people get the schedule because the animal shows are usually during the day, which is actually not when the fair per se is open and the rides and things like that. So if people wanted to see the sheep show, you know, I think maybe that's on Thursday. There's a pet show, there's a poultry show, there's open class cattle. So it's some 4-H, but it's also local farmers showing their cattle and things like that. And I think the horse show is on Sunday.
I've got my Wild Harvest Table water cup here. So Mo, remind us about the Wild Harvest Table website and blog and what you've been doing in terms of research and recipes with game.
So, yeah, we started the Wild Harvest Table quite a while ago as a resource for people that hunt or fish or would like to hunt and fish and to have different ways to prepare their catch. So sort of an interesting thing that we did recently was we created a fish booklet for an organization called the Rivers of Recovery, which is a not-for-profit that takes veterans out on fishing for therapeutic benefit and to learn how to fish. So we created a cookbook for them, and actually I had the chance to go down to Maryland, and so that might be on the next, the fall edition of Dead Meat, which is an Outdoor Channel show with Scott Lysith, and so that's kind of exciting and fun. So, so we're getting some interesting national attention on that, and of course, we're continuing to do research on the nutritional benefits of wild game and fish.
And for people who don't know, that was one of the reasons you started the site and the blog is there was a lack of nutritional information. We knew that this food was good for us, but we really didn't know how good, what does a wild goose look like in terms of vitamins and minerals or whatever. So you've been doing a lot of that research along with other Cornell experts to get the answers to those questions.
Exactly. So all of the recipes, I create the little nutrition fact labels so you can see how many calories, how much fat, what kinds of fat are in the recipes. And to do that, you need to know what's in the meat because that's the main ingredient for it. And so through doing that, I realized that a lot of it was missing, as you said. So we worked with USDA to collect samples, and we added ruffed grouse. We added brook trout, which is our New York State fish. We added Canada goose meat, which actually has a ton of iron in it. It's really healthy compared to domestic goose. And we actually, just the most recent one was eastern wild turkey. So I think white-tailed deer is going to be next because what's actually in the database is axis deer, which is a totally different species and not even native to North America. So
how do we get the bones out of a brook trout?
So honestly, if you catch a beautiful little brook trout, if you grill it whole, the bones will just fall away from the meat and the skin. Yep.
That's the wildharvesttable.com, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Wildharvesttable.com is the website for all those recipes, nutrition info. SenecaCountyCCE.org is the website for Seneca County Cooperative Extension. Last I saw, are you still looking for volunteer help for setup and tear down and stuff at the fair?
I believe always the more hands, less work. So, we're always looking for help with that. And with any of our programs, if people are interested in food preservation and would like to learn how to become a master canner, they can reach out. If they're interested in gardening and they want to get better at that, they can call up and chat with Patty about becoming a master gardener. And all that information is on our website, as well as a food and family page, which will highlight things that are in season and recipes, and the farm to school pages have lots of great recipes as well.
And I just want to add, if any Seneca Falls Minders Academy parents or community members want to volunteer on Monday the 25th from 5 to 7, that's when we're building their garden beds. If there's anybody that's handy with tools and wants to help us build the garden beds, that'd be really helpful.
Okay.
But we're going to get together, we'll have some light refreshments, and they can help the farm to school team just get their gardens built and get ready for the year.
All right. Mo and Candace, thanks very much. Always fun to talk with you, and look forward to doing it a lot more in the future.
Thanks, Ted.
Yeah,
Good to
thank
see
you.
Again, SenecaCCE.org is the website. The fair begins tomorrow night. Coming up next week on this program, we have Bill Rogie from the Seneca Lake Pure Waters Association. We'll talk harmful algal blooms and invasive species and protecting our lakes. Pre-recorded later on this week, we'll be talking with the folks from Yates County Public Health. There's been an outbreak of Lyme disease in Yates and some other counties. We'll find out the latest on that and a whole bunch more. Intern Caleb has been our producer today. Thanks for watching Inside the FLX here on FingerLakes1.com.